Out of your left. Right.
This one? Yeah. Okay. All right. We'll call this meeting to order, the workshop for the Highland Park Municipal Pool. Discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding proposed renovations to Highland Park Pool, including but not limited to construction costs, architectural and engineering services, designs, options, and project funding sources. Eddie Faulkner, City Manager.
Yes, Mayor and Council, want to also recognize that the Parks Board is here in attendance tonight. At least several members of the Parks Board is here. Chairman Stephen Harrison and other members as well. So the way this workshop is intended to work is open dialogue between both the council and the Parks Board, and then we'll work through a presentation. We've got both Crossland and GH2 architects here to present the pool and the items we've discussed regarding the pool. And then after we've had that discussion, we'll then take the public comments of those who have signed up to speak. There are also members of the Oversight Committee here. I see Chris Evans, Seth Robbins, Deanna.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Let me shut this off.
So we do have a presentation, so we'll start with the presentation, and if we can get that up on the screen. And Kim.
Just to reiterate, Eddie, the comments will happen afterwards.
Yes.
Just to reiterate.
Lights, please. Thank you. You're good. You're good. All right. So just a quick recap on how we got to where we are today. Taking you back to May 2023, when we first decided the difficult decision to close the pool. We had been in a drought for a considerable amount of time, and as you'll recall, the pool had a daily water loss of over 40,000 gallons of water. So for a 90-day swim season, that's a substantial amount of water loss, and we could not identify where the water was going. Still have not been able to identify where that water was going. In addition to the water loss, the lack of the ADA accessibility, each year the pool is inspected by the state. And each year a comment that was given to us in our inspection is the lack of ADA accessibility. So the chairlift met that requirement, but that's not something in the future we need to make sure that we are completely ADA accessible rather than just meeting the bare minimum requirement. So, after the difficult decision to close the pool, we partnered with the City of Edmond to allow our residents to utilize Pelican Bay. We've done that the last 2 years. We intend to do that this upcoming summer as well. In October of 2023, the City Council entered into a contract with Carruthers Construction Company to evaluate the pool and make a few determinations / recommendations to the city as to the next steps for the life of the pool, Highland Park. One of the first things I'd like to point out to you is the plumbing system could not be pressurized. So they tried to put a pressure gauge on it, no reading whatsoever on any of the system. So that was the first thing that was reported to us. And they said they used a combination of both water and air testing. Each piping system was isolated as much as possible, plugged or valved off and brought up to the test or pressured and test with hydrostatic pressure if it was not feasible to temporarily plug on one end of the service. Findings continued. The piping from the filters to the pool return inlets were temporarily isolated using plugs and air tested. Air pressure was added for approximately 1 hour and never registered above 0 psi. The gutter return to the filter area was also tested. This pipe system would not hold any hydrostatic head and in fact could not be completely filled. This represents that the system could not hold any test pressure. It continues to go on in depth as to why the system, in their opinion, would not hold a reading. The next thing they took a look at was the concrete sounding and the integrity of the pool itself. So the pool floor was sounded using a chain gang drag to identify areas of deteriorated concrete. The deteriorated areas were marked in chalk and then mapped. The attached sketch will show you the areas which the sounding indicated deteriorated concrete. These areas encompass approximately 1,100 square feet or 19% of the entirety of the pool floor. Let me show you that sketch there. So that's what was given back to us. If you're looking at the pool, every area that you see shaded in is what failed the sounding test, okay? So when we talk about almost 1,200 square feet, that's what that looks like. So as a result of that, then Carruthers gave us a couple of recommendations based on their inspections on the concrete sounding. Option one, and this is in 2023, option one was to replace the entire facility at budgetary number for a new facility of similar size, which is 6,200 square feet of water surface area, approximately $6.4 to $7.4 million, depending upon the scope and amenities. This was 2 years ago. Option two, repair the deteriorated concrete as indicated on the attached sketch within the basin, replace all piping surrounding the pool and the equipment area. This will require removal and replacement of a substantial portion of the deck. A budgetary range for this work is estimated from $1.8 to $2.4 million and should extend the useful life of the facility by 5 to 8 years. This option was not recommended due to the significant cost versus the anticipated facility life extension. I also want to point out this option, none of these three options that were presented by Carruthers included a renovation to the bathhouse or the chemical house, which, as you well know, need to be brought up to code and be remodeled as well. Option three was use the pool as is, assuming a water loss of 43,000 gallons per day, 3.5 month season, over 4.5 million gallons of water. So in 2023, remember where we were making decisions as a council and staff. Do we want to ensure that we have water to provide to the citizens for consumption and or fire protection, or do we want to open the pool? And that's what prompted the decisions that got us to where we are today. So, October 2023, we hired Carruthers. December 2023, in the in-between, we set up a community survey to discuss the pool and other projects that we would like to see happen in the city of Guthrie. As it relates specifically to the pool, the question on the survey says, on a scale of 1 to 5, how important would you rate the construction of a new cost-effective or multi-phased version municipal pool or aquatic feature at Highland Park? Out of 311 respondents, 62 participants found the pool to be the least important, 48 participants found it to be the most important on that specific question. Question number 10, please rank the projects discussed above in a priority level from top to bottom, with the top project being a high priority and the bottom being a low priority. The pool was ranked 6th, both by the community and the CIP Oversight Committee. January 2024, the CIP Committee came and gave a presentation to the City Council. Oversight Committee Chairman Chris Evans presented these priorities to the City Council. Motion was then made by Councilmember Case and seconded by Councilmember Taylor to transition the CIP Task Force to the Oversight Committee, adopt the proposed priorities, and call for an election on April 2, 2024. The motion passed unanimously. Once the item was approved by the voters with nearly 80% voter approval, the CIP committee and the council worked together to determine financing or cash allocations for each project based on timing, priority, and what it was going to take to get accomplished what we had discussed. One thing I will point out to you before we go too far on this, we estimated CIP number 2 to produce $15 million over the 15 years. We are limited by our trust indenture through the Public Works Authority to $8 million in debt each year. We issued $8 million in debt against the CIP to fund the construction of the second fire station, the water towers, the West Side Booster Station, and the ADA intersections in the downtown. That's all we could get within our debt limitation. However, if we were allocating the entirety of the $15 million, which the council and the oversight committee did, $3 million to water towers, booster pump station, infrastructure upgrades, water related, $1 million, excuse me, $1 million related to sanitary sewer, $5 million to the second fire and EMS station, $2 million of CIP 2 for Owen Field, $1.5 million for ADA projects, and $2.5 million for the pool. Planning and design. So one of the discussions or large questions from the presentation that GH2 did was how many occupants will the proposed pool hold? I want to go back and look at the statistics. I know that the pool in its existing state was not being utilized to the best capacity. We know that, staff, council, we all know that together. The numbers that the YMCA has provided is approximately 30 people per day were attending the pool. We recognize that a new pool will bring more people. In 2024, Pelican Bay had an average of 50 people per day. The pool that has been proposed to you would have an occupancy of 102 people at any given time. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Daniel Smith with GH2, Sarah Andrews with GH2, and Aaron Stoops with Crossing Construction to take the PowerPoint from here. A couple, while he's, thank you, excuse me, a couple of quick notes. One of the key things when we decided to look at this pool, we want to make sure it was ADA accessible. We wanted to make sure that it could accommodate swim lessons. And we also wanted to have both sustainable design for the future and water features for younger children. So we were able to accommodate all of that in the proposal. The Parks and Urban Forestry Board heard an update on this item in November 2024, and then again in April, 2 weeks prior to the city council meeting.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you. So we're going to go through an option, or a couple of options that we've looked at since the last time we discussed this. Option A is going to be the option that we presented a few weeks ago. That is the pool as it's been designed currently. And so that is the pool that is about 1,500 square feet and will have 102 bathers within it. So with this renovation, we would also be renovating the bathhouse and the equipment building and the deck to bring everything up to code, provide ADA accessibility to all occupants of the pool, and also provide features within that pool such as slides for older children and adults, a toddler slide, as well as some geysers within the the beach entry on the far east side. So as you can see here, here's some renderings of the current design. So this is from seeing, this is the view as seen back by the equipment building looking towards the existing bathhouse. So you can see the slide there on the left side. We've got deck space for people to lay out on chairs.
So this is the new pool right here, right?
This is the, yes,
Original
that's
one.
correct.
This would be the proposed, and I want to point out
I don't remember it looking like that.
the site plan that we brought you, and Daniel, if you could touch on that. That is our mistake. The
Okay,
site
so
plan
it's
we
changed.
brought you,
Okay.
it hasn't changed.
No, I mean, the site plan has.
Go ahead, Daniel.
Go ahead.
No. What you're seeing here, the site plan that you saw from above has not changed.
Okay.
This is representing that kind of at a ground
Okay.
eye level. So this kind of helps give a better perspective
Right.
for what you would see in that design. So, yes. So this is kind of that overhead view. So
Yes,
yeah,
that looks
you
a
can
lot
see the pool, the deck,
Doesn't it?
where we were pulling it in, but still utilizing plenty of that deck space for people to lay out and be able to travel around the deck.
So where I was going with that, the site plan that we brought you, we should have brought you these renderings,
Right.
and that's our fault. full responsibility for that. Between the committees, the Parks Board, and the City Council, we were trying to get this ready for summer of 2026. We had our direction, and so we went with it. I should have asked GH2 to produce this in the beginning, and I apologize that I did not. So.
All right. So yeah, this is the last look, kind of as the design currently stands. So between the last meeting and this one, we went back and looked at a couple of different options based on the feedback we had heard. And so option B, the bathhouse renovations and the equipment building renovations would all still be a part of this option. They will need to be done to bring everything up to current codes and accessibility requirements. But with this option that you see, we've increased the size of the pool to 3,000 square feet. So this would have a bather load of 200 occupants. So you've essentially doubled the amount that we were originally showing with option A. So we need a little bit more deck space with this to accommodate the larger pool. But in addition to this, once per Oklahoma pool code, once you get above 2,400 square feet for the pool, there are now new restrictions or new requirements for the equipment. So with the smaller pool, we were able to get away with a scupper type gutter system, which those are the typical collector little boxes that you'll see around the perimeter. With this one, we have to use a surge tank. So as that grows, you have to have a volume of water to be able to handle that displacement of the size of the pool. So that surge tank is an additional piece of infrastructure that would go underneath the deck, as well as a new gutter type system. So that would be an addition because we are getting above that 2,400 square feet. But you do get an additional bather load for this size of pool to accommodate those requests. Any questions on this option? Okay. And so many of those items that I just touched on are in this. And so moving on to option C, this is kind of a middle ground between the two. So roughly about 2,300 square feet. You'll get a bather load of around 154 people. So more than you would have with the current as design. But we are keeping it below that 2,400 square foot threshold. So we have a more cost-effective gutter system with this. Doesn't have the same equipment requirements. And then with all these options, or with options B and C, extending the depth to that 7-foot depth, so you can have more classes, different activities that can take place in there. So with this option, you still have plenty of deck space. There's a little bit more room for people in the deeper area that is on the right where you see the slide. And then it should be noted that with both the larger options, you would have to have more staffing for those, more lifeguards on duty because of the higher bather count. So that is something to consider with both of those options. They will take more staff to be able to operate. Many of those things are included there as well.
All right, good evening. I'm with Crossland Construction here to talk about kind of the cost impacts of these items as Daniel just spoke to. We had a few options from the previous meeting that kind of came to fruition. Obviously with new designs comes new costs. So that was our job to sit here and evaluate the different options that Daniel just put in front of you. From left to right, you can kind of see the A option is the original pool as designed, currently coming in at about 2.1, hovering around that $2 million number. Option B, increasing, essentially doubling the pool size, jumps it up to about $3.5 million budget at that point. And then option number 3, or C, as listed there, gets you to $2.9 million. So what we had kind of found as we evaluated this is this pricing was pretty much solely on the cost of the pool. You had a little bit of trade-off with the concrete deck, obviously getting a larger pool, less deck. So we're seeing those numbers kind of trade off a little bit, but it is really just those two numbers that changed with all three of these evaluations. Going up to the double size of 3,000 square foot, you would think that doubled the price. No, it more than doubled the price with it. As Daniel kind of mentioned, once you get to that capacity, you're adding larger equipment, larger pipes, surge tanks, gutter systems, right? It's not just doubling the size of the pool. So that number went up pretty considerably. What you're saving on deck costs is very small compared to that. So what we're really seeing between these three numbers is strictly pool costs at that point. So we went through, evaluated these so that you guys kind of see the impact of what, you know, making a bigger pool was. So not many other numbers, like they said, were impacted. We kept the bathhouse and the equipment house essentially the same. So those numbers remain constant through it. So really just the fluctuation again that you're seeing is the cost of the pool. Any questions with that regarding price?
What's the percentage of subject to change depending upon when you start?
As far as like where costs are today?
Correct.
And where they're gonna be then?
Yeah, I know you don't.
Yeah, I wish I had that
can't.
crystal
You don't have
ball.
that crystal
I
ball.
really do. I wish I had that
Historically,
crystal ball.
they're not coming down? Or they're going up?
No, historically, construction costs have never come down
Exactly.
from where they were previously. We don't understand kind of the full impact of tariffs as it stands right now. So it's certainly a guess on where that's going to come in at, you know, in the future with it. I will say, you can see a tiny impact on this right-hand side. There's a line item called general conditions. That's a byproduct of our time on the site. That has gone up with the 3,000 square foot option. That'll add about, you know, a month or two to our schedule going to the larger option as well. So with that, obviously, time equals money.
So that's what I was going to ask, if your general conditions included your admin fees and things like that with who you have at your
The
construction
general
company
conditions are
handling that.
strictly staffing. So
Staffing only.
that's our employees on the site running the project managers. Yeah, basically anything that has to do with a human on it is in our general conditions.
I just want to make sure, 'cause when I went through those and tallied up numbers, the general contractor fee altogether was pretty reasonable.
Yeah, certainly. We definitely try, and obviously, you know, that fee down at the bottom is just a direct result of the costs above it.
Yep.
So that's gonna increase, you know, as a byproduct of that. Project
Right, it's fine.
requirements, we didn't see that going up. Those are things like your porta potties, dumpsters, you know, stuff like that. That's not gonna increase or change too much with these type of changes, but the rest of them are percentage based, so obviously as the price goes up, those go up as well.
Yes, understood. Thank you.
Any questions from the park board?
I do have a comment. Is this questions or is this part of the?
For the park board?
Oh, for the park board, okay.
First off, I'd like to thank everybody for coming a little early. I know that changed everybody's schedule. I appreciate that. One question on that first slide that was shown, if we could go back to that. The first graph that you showed in the slideshow, that broke down the SIP committee ranking.
So this was the
Goes to the next.
community survey, and this was also the community survey.
Yeah, on this one, I think you might have mentioned that the pool was last. And from what I'm looking at, I think the light blue is last and the purple is second to last. And so the light blue is the baseball field expansion and the pool is actually second to last, unless I'm not seeing that right. And I think I have a hard copy of that from the meeting, and I think that's what it says as well. we can come back to. And then, one other question would be, unless you want me to wait, Eddie.
No, I've got it here, so. That would be correct. So the score on the expansion and completion of Owen Field is 2.23, and the score on Highland Park is 2.40. I will say that that's the first time that that's been brought to my attention.
Yeah, I think,
Every CIP committee meeting, and so I apologize for that error.
okay, and I have another question about the layout of the pool, if anybody could speak to that. The zero, if we can go back to the slide for that, please.
For the proposed,
Yes, the aerial view, please, if that's available.
I think we,
No, excuse me, but the aerial view was for option A. Was that the view that was included in the?
and that is the current design as it stands.
Okay,
this is,
that's
Okay.
what I just
That's
wanted
fine.
to make sure
Yeah,
that,
that's what-
yes, okay, thank you.
So in this design, a question was brought up from the community, and the zero entry, does that go from, is that the first 2/3 of the pool, and then it goes down to the deep end?
Right, so
Okay.
it's a gradual slope. It's dictated by code, but yes,
Okay.
it starts on the far east side. It's 0 and then gradually slopes down. There's kind of a throat there where you see it kind of coming together at the stair, and then it transitions into
So,
deeper part. I apologize, west, yes. Thank
so
you.
in that, when y'all proposed 103 people, is that also included for those 103 people?
It does take into account the water
That space.
area
So-
of that space as well.
So potentially, most of those people would be more standing in water than in the deep end, design, based on the design.
It's an average layout of the
Okay.
general area, yes.
Those are my questions for now. I think other park members have some questions. Carol, do you want to show these?
So the pool was not voted last.
so the difference between the pool and Owen Field is 2.40 in a weighted score versus 2.23.
You might want to break down the population that actually responded to that poll, percentage-wise, in its entirety.
About 311 respondents.
Exactly.
But the
So-
survey was, went out in what manners?
5,000.
So
No,
the
I
survey
haven't
was in
asked
every
him.
utility bill. It was on social media, and we also shared it. I don't believe it was in the newspaper due to the timing, but I believe it was on Guthrie Dispatch.
Thank you.
I don't remember seeing that.
Okay, so thanks for having us tonight. I really appreciate your interest in this. I just want to clarify some statistics that have been quoted, and I think this is for y'all. These are actually, these statistics have been given to us by the YMCA, who's managed the pool. You can all read, but I thought we'd just kind of go over them together. So they had 26 pool parties in the last time the pool was open, 2022. For swim lessons, most of the classes were filled. And during summer camp, when the kids arrived from camp, 100 children add to the attendance of the pool at one time. My grandchildren have asked to leave the pool that is, I believe, 4 times larger than that when the camp arrives. It is completely bonkers and very overcrowded. Then for water aerobics classes, which I have taught, there are up to 40 people in a class of water aerobics people attending. Then when they have open swim, there are 20 to 30 swimmers, and members 30 to 40. So in other words, you could have as many as 70 open swim members at one time. So the numbers that we've been given, that there are 30 people in this pool a day, if you've ever been to the pool, you know that that is completely not true and unclear. I think they were just getting the statistic of maybe open swim average attendance for non-members. That's all I can figure out where that number has come from. But the YMCA has continually sent this to the city council and to people here in leadership. And I asked Caitlin to be here tonight to verify these numbers if you question them. She was not able to come, but I think we're basing decisions on the wrong numbers.
I would like to say,
Yes.
the numbers I've shared have come directly from the Y through Caitlin. So I've not seen this document, so.
Yeah, I know, Eddie. I don't understand it. That's why we're hoping Caitlin could be here, because every time I come back and tell her what's going on, she says, I have sent them the correct numbers repeatedly. That was a direct quote from the director.
Well, and I appreciate 100% your service. I know what it is to serve on these boards. I've served on them before. I've repeatedly asked for this information, and this is the first time I've ever seen it. Where I've been they couldn't give it, and what I asked is just take the gate, divided by the amount of money that you're charging for the gate, and there's your number. And
Except members are free.
except members are free, but then you got a membership thing involved in there. So maybe that's what's skewed it. I don't know. But
I don't
no,
think
this is
it
the
was-
first I've ever seen this.
Yeah, and I don't think it was intentional, but we just feel it's so important that you have the accurate numbers.
It
And
is.
then, of course, you all know that if you build it, they will come. And so the pool, when I first started going to the pool with my grandchildren, there was not a single chair to sit in. There was 2 small shade structures, no other shade. The dressing rooms, you needed a tetanus shot to use. I'm sorry, but I'm just being honest. As someone who, wasn't born and bred here, I was kind of shocked by the situation. And so through private funding, we bought thousands of dollars of pool chairs, lounge chairs, umbrellas, all the things that we did. We remodeled as best as we could the pool house. We laid rubber mat on the floor for safety and sanitary reasons. We painted the entire inside, most of the outside. So we have tried really hard, just as private citizens, to turn this thing around, because I say that because when you quote numbers and say, well, no one uses the pool, and my contention is, well, have you been to the pool? Have you seen how it is not being kept? It's not hospitable to people. It's not really even sanitary in the dressing rooms. Why would people want to go there? But if you build a new pool, do you have any idea how many people are going to want to come? And then the other thing that I thought was intriguing was a piece of I don't know what you call this, print data that was issued by the city of Guthrie with estimated needs that we have as a city. And on the back, you can see, we tried to print it in color, but the machine only printed half in color. I don't know why. But the pool, the estimate for replacing the pool was $5 million. And suddenly we were given an estimate of $1.5 million. And that was rather troubling to us as a park board, because quite honestly, as we look at our community, this is a matter of life and death. And I don't want to be dramatic, overly dramatic, but learning to swim and water safety is a matter of children's lives. And there are many great things to invest in our community, and I'm sure they're all excellent things, but this is not a luxury. And the poorer that a child is, the more apt they are to drown. And if they're a child of color, they're twice as apt to drown in a pool or in water than an Anglo-Saxon or whatever, white child. So it's because, children of affluence have other options, but poor children have no other way to learn how to swim and to be water safe. And so this is why we are fighting so hard for a pool that will create a hub for our community, a place for our kids to go. There isn't a lot to do in a small town. And so kids get in trouble, and then they get blamed for getting in trouble. But the truth of the matter is, as a community, we need to think about where can our children and our families and our adults, as well as our children, spend time. I work out at the Y most days, and the women there keep asking me, what's going to happen with water aerobics? They depend on it. They look forward to it. A lot of them are doing this for health. And I'm like, we're working on this really hard. But we feel like this is a major priority for our community, and I know there are a lot of needs, and I don't mean to be insensitive to those needs, but this, I feel, needs to be given a little bit more credence.
So the $5 million wasn't this on the first CIP?
Thank you for that question.
Because
So
the first CIP, which I was involved in, was a complete water park. It wasn't just a swimming pool.
this flyer predates my employment with the city.
Exactly.
And so
And it was-
this flyer was created for
This-
Mayor Gentling to go to Congress during COVID when there was infrastructure funding being made available to communities.
Right.
And
was
at
the
the
whole water
time, if you'll recall, there was an aquatic park that was proposed, which had a price tag of $4.5 million pre-COVID.
Then.
Yes.
And that's not where we are today.
No, absolutely not.
And that is not what I'm asking for at all.
No, I understand. I just wanted to make sure, because I
Okay.
remember this in the first CIP.
Got it. Okay. Would it be possible for Jean to come up and speak, because she has history that is amazing?
I think we need to work between the council and the park board for now.
Okay.
And then members of the public are more than
Okay,
welcome to
sounds
speak once we've concluded that portion. So,
Is anybody else, any other member of the park board here that would like to say something or ask questions?
My name's Martha Turner. Thank you for letting me speak. My biggest concern is the thoughts of the growth in Guthrie. I've been to the city council meetings and heard how there are several subdivisions going in and houses going up, and I just have very big concerns about the pool being large enough to support the growth of Guthrie. And I've heard it talked about how the pool can be enlarged, but I have my doubts that that'll happen, quickly enough to support the growth that's going to happen. So I have concerns there. I live right around the corner from Highland Park and always look forward to the pool being open. And I just would really encourage y'all to look at the size a little bit more. I think option A is a little bit small for what we really need in this city. So, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else on the Parks Board? Are you on the Parks Board? Okay, yeah. Okay. Did you sign up on here? Okay, well, we can go ahead and do these then, right, Eddie? Okay, unless you guys have anything else on your end.
I don't believe that staff
Okay.
or GH2 Crossland, do you have any other? Teddy, did you have anything you'd like to add?
The
Or
only thing maybe I would add, as we went through several different slides or presentations, is a thought that I would have from seeing all three options would be, something that we would want to keep in consideration would be, I think it was the middle option would be, or maybe in the last option we showed, but the middle pool would be maxing out our filtration system, you could say. I think that was right at 2,300, just over square foot pool, and anyone with a pool or has had a pool or whatever knows that the more people you get in one, the more you have to treat that, and already from day one, having a maxed out filtration system, just a thought I would have as we went through all three options, so something to keep in mind when we look at all three options.
Was that included inside of his estimate numbers, or you're talking about purely maintenance?
That's
on
correct.
City end?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
so the cost is included in Crossland's budget. However, for maintenance numbers, that would increase respectively with each option.
Sure, okay. All right, thank you, Tenny. Anything else, Tenny?
But you are talking about using the same filtration system? No, him. On option B. I mean, on option C.
Option C.
A and C.
The equipment would have to be upsized accordingly to handle the increased volume in water.
In either option, the A or C. The initial option
The initial option is fine how it's been designed.
with the existing filtration that's there?
No,
Well, we are providing new equipment.
All new, okay, well, that's what I wanted to make sure of.
Yes.
But it's already included inside
Yeah,
the numbers
exactly.
they gave. so.
and Daniel, I think the point of clarification is the difference between the two system types, right? So
Exactly.
The next step is the gutter system, which I believe is what the councilman is asking.
Well, I'm asking about the 2,400 square foot one. Do you have to upfit for that from A? In other words, from A to C?
Your filtration system is different than a requirement for a surge tank or a gutter system.
Right.
So with every one of those options, bigger filters, bigger pipes, bigger general piece of equipment, once you eclipse 2,400, that's when you get the surge tank.
Yeah.
That's when you get the gutter system,
Yeah.
things like that. But in every facet of it,
It's a-
there's
it's
gonna be an
increase.
upgraded piece of equipment that comes along with it.
Okay. Let's go ahead and open up public comments. I have, is it Jean Groom or Sean Groom? First letter is, okay. Oh, yes.
Okay, thank you. Second time. Go. First of all, thank you for letting us come today and talk. The WPA built the pool, 1936. How that fits under special stuff, I don't know. But we used to have 5 diving boards, if you can imagine. But they were taken out slowly because of safety. But I had over 30 years working at the pool, lifeguarding, teaching swimming lessons. And we had everything from beginners to advanced life-saving, and I had the life-saving classes. Our swim classes were praised as the top in the state. Many of the other areas tried to duplicate our lessons, our program that we had, which had been developed mostly by Pat and Robert Ringrose, right? And we worked with the Red Cross guy in Oklahoma City, and he helped us develop a super program. And we would have 2 sessions of beginners every day. And we had like 10 stations for beginning different things. And there would be like 20 to 30 students in each station. That's in 1 hour, 1 class. And we had 2 classes though, so count how many people that was. We would move them up to swimmers, or to intermediates, then to swimmers, and then the ones who still were interested in swimming would come to basic life-saving or junior life-saving, and then would come to me for senior or advanced life-saving. And thus, we provided for future lifeguards, future swim instructors that way. We had dozens of students bust over from Crescent because they had access to no pools. And so there was another 50 to 100 sometimes, depending on what summer. We taught swimming the first 3 weeks of summer, tried to coordinate with the Bible schools of the churches. And then we had lots of private lessons. You know, I personally taught students from 9 months to 90 years old. So that's a lot of people that learned how to swim in our county, in our area. And water safety was very important to us. A lot of people also benefited from the water aerobics classes that were made available. And we also did water ballet a couple of years. And we would finish each year with swimming lessons. We would finish with a water carnival with all kinds of events for whatever level the students were. And we had a blast. We would have parents lined up on the outside because trying to see what their kids could do now, the ones who had been afraid of the water to start with, and now we're having a blast. The pool hours, always 2 to 5, 6 to 9, day in, day out, weekends, whatever. The only time we closed was if a superstorm. If we could see the lightning or hear the thunder, we closed. You could depend on the hours. It wasn't during the heat of the day like the hours have been lately when they had the pool, which were ridiculous. I just feel, personally, I feel like a lot of the downfall of our pool, besides the maintenance, the city kind of slacked off in some of the maintenance. They were hiring immature pool managers and barely qualified lifeguards sometimes. You know, we were hired by the city manager with the approval of the American Red Cross because they knew who of us were certified to teach swimming and to be active in it. We need a swimming pool, not a wading pool. I just can't imagine the extra heat that would come from adding all that extra concrete because it was hot enough before that. But anyway, thank you all. Please consider this. It's just 5 feet of water, you don't do much.
You mentioned something I'm curious about because I don't know 100%, but we had nothing to do with managing the pool, did we?
Yes, we did.
Yes, city manager hired me. City manager hired us.
Back a ways back, we managed it, is what you're
Yes.
saying.
Hiring the Y is a relatively
Yes, the
recent
Y, when the Y
development.
took over, everything changed.
That is a recent development.
I know that in probably 2016.
I wanna say
that's off the top of my head, that's
2016.
probably a good number.
I don't
When I
remember.
looked- When I looked it up, it's.
Since I've been on
combined.
council, I thought we always just let them continue with their contract.
We
It
pay
is
the
yearly.
Y to operate. That's-
Yeah.
That's correct.
Well, thank you, Mrs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Philip Nichols?
Oh, given name.
Phil Nichols, 415 Ridgecrest Drive. I was on the CIP with some of the other folks here. I think the first thing I'd say is, much to like Eddie, I was shocked that there's a difference in the average daily use numbers. I think we need to keep a perspective on this. I think one thing I would say is everybody would agree it'd be wonderful if money was no object, that we would have a beautiful, large aquatic center. I think everybody would agree with that. You know, as I was evaluating and looking at the surveys and getting input from staff and doing tours and doing all this stuff, what I kept coming back to is how are we going to pay for it? And that's simply the question I would ask now. I mean, I would love to have a pool. How are we going to pay for it? And I think that can't be lost. I asked Maneka today, I said, well, if we do this, where's the money going to come from? And I would really like to hear from the council on what you guys think where the money would come from. Because ultimately, y'all are going to make the decision. So I'd like to know where the additional funds are going to come from to build it. I'd also like to know where the additional funds are going to come to maintain it. So what?
Here's the conundrum, Phil.
Yeah,
Is that we just had a water main break,
yeah,
okay, that could be up to $600,000.
correct,
Of unbudgeted monies that are just all of a sudden appearing.
correct.
And it's kind of like when you have a hole in your roof and this weekend you're planning a big party in the backyard. What do? You only have enough money for the party, or you have enough money to fix the hole in the roof?
Yep.
You fix the hole in the roof.
Yep.
So the reason I bring that up is there's not earmarked money, I don't think, for it. There's just not.
Well, what I looked at, and my first concern was, is that, and everybody's passionate about different things. You know, I really appreciate the park board being here. Everything they say makes
Yeah.
sense to me.
Me too.
I'm not questioning anything they're saying at all, but to me, it still comes down to money. I mean, so there was so much passed on the items that were passed, or money that we have allocated. Are we gonna take from one of those to do this? If so, I think everybody here deserves to know what y'all are thinking, if that is a potential thought. I think it needs to be on the record, and you guys need to tell us what you're thinking, because that's a big part of the equation.
If we find money to do it, Phil, and it doesn't come from anywhere else on CIP, are you happy with that?
I think, yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anybody here that would be against providing a pool for our children. And not just the children, the adults, you know,
Yeah.
many great programs you guys talked about. At least I'll say for myself, I know I'm not against that, right?
Well,
But money doesn't fall from the sky. It typically comes from somewhere.
We were presented with a pool that I think what happened is, and Adam and I agreed on this one, that when you first looked at it, just looked like a sea of concrete with a little pool at the end of it. That's what it looked like. It looked totally different than the rendering that we just saw.
Sure.
Okay, the rendering we just saw, I'm pretty much okay with. The other one, it just looked like you had to go through, 50 yards of concrete before you ever got to it. And my position was, well, let's put some water features, some picnic tables, some covering, so grandma, grandpa, mom, dad, whatever, they can go hang out there while the kids are playing, whatever we end up doing on it.
Yeah.
But we agreed, I think, over $1 million on this pool. The problem we get to is when you start looking at $3 million. That's the problem. Where's that money come from? We've spent 10 years that I've been on this council saving every dollar we could save for rainy days, for infrastructure, for things that are going on that we know are going to happen, that are going to break.
Yeah.
okay? And so I don't see where it's coming from. I know we have money in the bank, but it's not a lot, you know? It's probably way less of a percentage than you and I and anybody in here having a savings account versus what you bring in income-wise,
Yeah, your reserves.
percentage-wise. And so, all right, that's a good Eddie question.
I think just real quick, the last thing I'd say is, you know, if we go down this road and if you guys think that the money's gonna have to come from something else, I do think it's very important you tell us that. Of course. Before there's a vote and tell us where it's gonna come from.
Absolutely.
You know, I think the other thing that's really important is to really evaluate ongoing maintenance cost. Again, just let's go into it with open eyes and know what we're really gonna be paying for, okay? If we can do it, let's do it, you know? But I think part of the whole reason why this pool was initially introduced was that this is a starting point and we can add to this. I completely get the concern on whether that will ever happen. I get that, right? But much like I get the concern of if we have creative funding ideas or creative ways we're going to get money raised to do this increase, those are wishes and dreams. They're not a plan. I mean, you know, the longer we wait, the higher construction cost goes up, the higher everything goes up. So I appreciate the park board, I appreciate all of you. I just want us to move. Just think about everything, not just one thing. I mean, we all get the importance of a pool, but we also, like I told somebody, you build a new house, everybody'd love to have a pool, but if you can't, it's not in the budget, it's not in the budget.
Well, I have no intention of pulling something, moving CIP money around. Does anybody else propose anything like that? Or I'm not saying you said we did. I'm just putting your concerns.
I'm just curious,
Yeah.
where's the money going to come from?
Well, you can't pull it from infrastructure. We need tens of millions for infrastructure. You know, the baseball field is a potential revenue generator versus a money pit. So
We've already started.
that we've already started.
Do we need to, I'm sorry, Grant, or
No,
Brian, keep going.
go ahead.
We're good.
Okay, we're good on time. We don't need a hard 6:30, do we, on the?
No,
No,
because
we're good.
Okay, well, let's try to get another one. I'm sorry, Brian, I did not mean to
no,
cut you off.
no,
You're good.
that's okay.
Seth Robbins?
Seth Robbins, 722 East Cleveland, I guess that's what you do. I too was part of the CIP committee and then transitioning into oversight. And, you know, that process wasn't done over a weekend. It was done over, you know, more than a year of developing the plan that we put forth to be voted on. We had nothing was developed quickly. Everything was developed based on, you know, a parentheses of money, and these are the projects that the community is saying is important. And then how do we allocate those resources, right? And so I think, again, the mayor mentioned that there would be no plan to shuffle that money around. So if that is the case, if that truly can happen, that addresses one of my concerns, because ultimately at the end of the day, a bunch of us kind of signed off on that. This is the plan we're putting forth. This is the plan we want voted on. And I absolutely would hate to see that flipped, because I think that just feeds into mistrust of what we're doing, mistrust of the process, and all things like that. I too, like Phil, I completely get the passion from the Parks Board. Moving the statistics, talking about demographics and socioeconomic statuses and how the pool can affect that. And I that's not lost on me in the least. However, I don't think that we can make decisions always based on nostalgia, based on history, based on emotion, things like that. When I was a kid, you know, 37 years ago, say when I'm 10 years old, I swam in the public pool in Crescent, which no longer exists. I swam in the public pool in Perry, which no longer exists. I swam in the public pool here, which currently doesn't exist. And if you go to those other communities, they've not replaced their pools. And now when you do go to communities our size and smaller, unless they've had some kind of large corporate donation or some sort of sponsor to that pool, they don't have those facilities. And we all know why, and it all comes down to money. The money that we just, at the current time, unless somebody's got a hidey-hole savings account somewhere, we just don't have. I mean, clearly, if there's creative ways to generate more revenue, that'd be a great discussion down the road. In terms of the designs, talking about depths and diving boards and things like that, versus the era that you were talking about versus the era we're in today. Since 2000 to 2025, claims against municipalities are up 500% in 25 years. 500%. Everybody knows whether you're insuring your business or insuring your house or whatever. Is anybody's getting cheaper? It's not. And part of the reason why it's not getting cheaper is because of the rapid rise in litigation. So when I see a pool that's going to have a 0 entry point and a 5-foot max depth, that makes me feel better from a danger standpoint or a liability standpoint. So I don't really have a huge desire to see that original plan blown up. Now, obviously, that was just an advisory committee we put forth, people voted on it, and ultimately it'll be you guys that deploy that in the way that it is. I too, like Phil, it's a little bit putting us off balance, being what we were told by the YMCA versus what now is being reported. Not exactly sure what happened there, but I felt like the numbers were good when we got them. Maybe they weren't. But still in all, with that being aside, and regardless of the bar graph, we do see that given, put in front of the citizens, and unfortunately, when you have such a small sample size, it gets a little bit, I get a little bit wary of depending on that totally, but you see that that wasn't just everybody's top priority. And so my ask is that we consider not just the idea of it would be great to have a swimming pool, because it would be. It would be great to have an aquatic center like Kingfisher has. I wish I would pull the Powerball this weekend and I'd pay for it. But it's just, in our current situation, it's not reality. I look at it like I look at my house. I would absolutely love to have a swimming pool. But before I put that swimming pool in, my foundation needs fixed. I desperately need new HVAC. I've replaced about half the plumbing in my house. And it's just, it all boils down to priority. And I think what we did on the CIP committee was try and give as many groups as much of what they wanted as we could at one time. And again, I'll back up what Phil said. If at any point it becomes, you know what, we're going to scale back here because a group of people really want this pool, my question would be to consider what good is having the pool if we can't get water to it, or if we don't have water to put into it. That's the last thing I'll say, and I just would ask that everybody consider that fact.
Thank you, Mr. Robbins.
Go ahead, sir, I'm sorry.
Well, just to echo what you guys are saying, I agree with you 100%. There's no point of having a CIP committee if you're not going to listen to the CIP committee. But I feel that way about all commissions, not just CIP. I'm not saying we do what they say. I'm just saying I've noticed that. I've had that attitude for years now with all the commissions. Why have them if you're not going to listen? So I agree with you on that. And I've had no, and again, just to put your mind at ease, I can speak for myself. I've had no intention of moving money around on CIP. So just put that out there. This is recorded, so. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yes, Mayor, Council, I want to respond to the comments about the WISE numbers. I can tell you that repeatedly, not just Councilman Bothroyd, we've asked for documentation. What we've been given is what you've been given. And I cautiously say that we've involved the Y to the extent that they've wanted to be involved in the design process. They've attended the meetings, they've been a part of the CIP discussions. We have a staff member that sits on the Y board. So the Y has been involved to the extent that they'd like to have been involved. It is unfortunate that this document tonight is contradictory with what we've been previously provided, but I will tell you that I've shared with you what I've been given. So I would have welcomed this 2 years ago when we started this conversation.
Whether or not the numbers are a little different than what we've been given, I don't think you've intentionally done anything, Eddie, in any direction, so.
Thank you, sir.
I can agree with that. I did also serve on the CIP committee with Bill and Seth and Chris and Stephen as well, and a few others. And I knew immediately that the number was incorrect because my daughter was a lifeguard the last 2 years she was there. So I did express that, but not being able to have actual numbers on paper is a lot different. When you have 5 lifeguards and all 5 of them are on stand at least one time a day, that's 12 bodies per lifeguard. That is a lot of kids in a pool. And looking for somewhere for teenagers to spend their summertime is drastically important. The city going through the huge measure of what they did to get into an agreement with the city of Edmond for Pelican Bay was fantastic. But for a mom like me, it is really hard to, 1, have time to take your kids down there, or 2, allow them just to get on a bus and go if they're under the age of 16, if they can't drive their own selves. So I think that even the use for Pelican Bay wasn't used to the max that it could have been by our general public. And it was limited to only people that lived within the city limits. And a lot of our kids live outside of city limits. A lot of the outside surrounding areas don't have pools. Coyle, Crescent, Cashin, they don't have city pools. And for a long time, Guthrie was a larger community for them to come to as well. I do understand that that is technically not Guthrie's problem. However, it is a main hub. I traveled to Cushing to go swim at their water facility with my kids when I have the time. They have a great water facility, and it is managed by their city management. So I will say that this committee met many months, and they spent a ton of time contemplating, going back and forth. Seth and I, is that slide gonna be too tall? Is it not gonna be too tall? You know, can we provide additional things for the limited amount of money? Because really it is a small amount of money. So the CIP committee was instrumental in trying to come up with as much money as possible to also hit on the various things that we do need to take care of. So I will say additional options would have been fantastic to see, and kind of hitting on more of the general public. We already have 2 splash pads. Teenagers get run off splash pads like crazy. So I'm going to leave it at that. These numbers would have been really helpful in November of 2023, which is the slideshow that I keep looking back at a lot. I take a lot of notes and keep a lot of information. So
I just want to respond, and I appreciate that, believe me, and I know. And I want kids from other communities to be able to come as well. But one thing we've been dealing with over the years, for example, and Dane's here and he can attest to it, is our ambulatory, for example, okay? Millions of dollars goes out, okay, that we don't recoup, okay? And because we're traveling everywhere, because we don't want someone's mother or father to have a heart attack on the other side of Crescent, or wherever it may be that we're going to. And so, I mean, where do you put the hammer down on it and say, okay, well, we just can't afford this? I mean, seriously, because it's like Phil said, and I think some others said, you know, if I won the lottery, I'd pay for it too. But we haven't. And I mean, when you start looking at the budget and you start getting into it and you start looking at the expenditures and the cash flows, and I bring up the ambulatory because it's a huge number, and there's a lot of maintenance in that. And I know we're not talking about ambulance, but we're talking about outside of the community in that right now.
Right, well, they would also have to pay to use the pool.
Okay, I understand that, but at the end of the day, we don't get that. That's where I'm going with this. The Y's gonna get the gate. We're not gonna get the gate. We're actually gonna pay the Y on top of that.
I don't understand that either.
Well, I don't either. You know, and so that goes to Phil's deal, I think. How do you maintain it? Deanna wants to talk, I think.
I didn't see her.
Yeah, I
I'm
still have
sorry.
3 other people. Can we get
Yes.
everybody? Okay. Christopher Evans?
If you want to go to Deanna first.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
You guys.
You're in line. Go
Come on, Deanna.
I'm sorry, Deanna also served on CIP. and I
Yeah,
didn't
come on,
see her
Deanna,
back
get there. Come on, Deanna.
Hey, Karen.
Council, I'll be brief. I understand the passion, I totally do, because I was thrown in the middle of the sports complex. And so the big idea for the sports complex was behind Walmart. And we're going to get the land from the Oklahoma Commissioner's land. That was going to be $4 or $5 million on top of the complex. Not going to happen. Then we thought go 80 acres. The city owns that land. That's free land. Now all we got to do is get $1 million worth of infrastructure. We're wanting 10 soccer fields. We're wanting 20 baseball fields and 12 softball fields, a practice field, and it was unrealistic. And Leroy and Eddie said, we have this much amount of money. And that's when reality sunk in with this sports complex. I would love to have a showcase on I-35 at this very moment. However, the dollars did not support that. And I grew up right across the street. My mom still lives right across the street from Highland Park. So I spent many, many days in that pool. So I know we got, I believe allocated $2 million. We have one that matches that right now, option A. Option B is way out there. And option C, we would have to get creative somehow if that's one that happens. So as far as the CIP, we knew it was a big deal to have that pool, although it was number 5 or 6 or whatever on the list, not only on our list, but also the survey list that we thought we need to look at it with the hopes of, if there's ever funding or Seth winning the lottery, we can add on to that at any given time. So, but I totally get the passion of it, because I would love to have 20 teams from Kansas come down and play softball tournament right this moment, but it was unrealistic. $2 million for a pool is not perfect, but it's in the ballpark for what we could have. So, thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Chris has convinced me. Let's do the 80 acres and let's do the
We
ball
tried
fields
that.
over.
It didn't work.
He was saying that. That was really good. Okay, Deanna Dunning.
2 minutes about my being, and I'm not going to rehash the same old thing, but yes, I was a member of the CIP committee as well. We rehashed, overhashed, underhashed all these numbers, and prioritized what we felt, as well as the community, needed to be listed. So I always come back to, it's probably the nurse in me, but as the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And unfortunately, the city of Guthrie, from many, many, many years ago, like Mrs. Groom said, the American Red Cross had a huge input and upkeep and financial obligations to the pool, thanks to Dr. Ringrose, his wife, many other citizens of the community that helped with lifeguarding, with upkeep, with maintenance. It didn't all fall on the city. Maslow's hierarchy, we have to concentrate on, you first have to be able to get water to the pool. You first have to be able to have air, oxygen, food, safety to function as a human being. And unfortunately, Guthrie, when you look at the end budgetary line items, I'm, like everyone else has said, I would love to have a pool the whole size of Highland Park, from east to west, and have every city around us, town around us, come and have a big old party. But unfortunately, that's not where we're at. And I just, again, like everyone else has said, please, I don't think what option A, I mean, when you look at cities around us, I'm going to give a quick example. Ponca City has a Wentz pool. I don't know if anybody has ever been there or has ever seen it, but it reminds me a lot of what our pool currently used to be. It is operated in part by the city of Ponca City and an organization, a 501c3 called AMBUCS, AMBUCS. They get a lot of grant funding. I foresee, and I would ask everyone to think about, I love the YMCA, I'm a member of the YMCA, I love what they do, but I have seen since the YMCA, I don't know what year it was, but whatever that agreement is that we currently have with the YMCA, can we re-look at that at some point in this pool? If we do, whether it's option A or option C, I don't care. But I think we need to look at the bigger picture of who's going to operate the pool and who's best equipped, and why are we paying the YMCA to operate a pool in the city of Guthrie? I don't quite understand what that was or how that came about, but I think we need to look at that as well. So it's all great that we, CIP, we did what we needed to do, we got all this on paper, but instead of just option A versus option C, I think we need to look at the bigger picture. Where else could we get funding if we want a bigger pool? And let's take some time and really try to regroup with this idea. If the pool is such a big, issue
Priority,
right
or
now.
is it?
Is it a priority? Maybe it is. Maybe it shouldn't be at the bottom of this list. But CIP, that's where it fell. If it needs to be regrouped and redone in some other way, again, where are we going to get the money? Who's going to operate it? Let's look at the bigger picture. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Deanna.
Deanna.
Colleen? And this is our final one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Colleen Golightly. I will be super brief. As a retired educator, my passion, of course, lies with the kids. And I just want to point out the paper that you guys have, the 6 through 12 group, that 11 of those 13 classes were full. That's that adolescent age. I really identified with what you said when she said it's a matter of life and death for some kids. 8, 9, 10, 12, approaching teenage, nothing to do. They're going to find something bad to get in trouble. And the swimming pool and all that it provides is something that those teenagers really, really need. I just implore you to really think about that. Adults love the pool and need the pool too. But for teenagers, we can keep a lot of the kids out of trouble off the streets if they have that swimming pool. So I just implore you to think about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I would just add, an incredibly outstanding educator.
Anybody else on council have anything else they'd like to say before we run into our regular meeting? No?
I don't.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. Staff or?
I think that this has been a great presentation. Appreciate the Parks Board being here, the CIP, the Oversight Committee, the City Council. We do have some big work ahead of us, and the clock is ticking.
Yep.
So we need to take these proposals into consideration, and whenever we're ready to receive that or provide that direction, staff, and Crossland are all ready to receive it.
Yep. Thank you, Crossland, for coming. Thank you, everybody who signed up to say something. I appreciate it. Thank you for the Parks Board. Let's go ahead and roll into our regular meeting. Do you want to go ahead and gavel in for that? Okay. Oh, well, adjourn the workshop. Now, we start our regular meeting, May 20th, 2025. Can we stand for our pledge? And join me in our Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for our prayer, sister.
Please pray with me. Almighty God, we give you thanks for your work in our city. Please help Guthrie's leaders to make a positive difference in our community in all decisions that they make. Please continue to provide for the needs of all who live here. Help us to be welcoming to newcomers, showing hospitality to all we meet. May our thoughts, words, and deeds be acceptable to you during this meeting and after we walk out the doors. And finally, Lord, we ask that you bless all those students and their families in this time of transition from the school year into summer, and especially bless the recent graduates. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Okay. That was when I should have got with it. What do we got here? Okay. All right. Item number 2, public comments, community announcements, and recognitions. We have one from Charles Downs.
Didn't know I was going to be first, but
Oh, yeah. We do the best first.
the announcement I have is that we want to thank the city council and all the city employees for what they do here for the city. And in the past, I've, not just myself, but several of us have given small little tokens of our appreciation to city council, city employees. And tonight, I'd like to do that again. May I approach, sir?
Yes, yes, sir.
I'm going to start over here because I'm not sure if Tim has ever gotten something from me. Now, I've given these before. It's up to you what you want to put in.
Are these full?
Yeah, we went there before. They weren't then either.
No, they are empty.
Because I'm in Ward 1 and Maneka. There's one for you, I didn't open it.
Thank you.
It's full.
My mirror is full.
It's not.
No, it is not. Just for the record.
For the mayor, I did something special.
Oh, nice.
For those of you that know of a TV show that was back in the early 60s, I know if you're mature enough like me, you might remember that. But this is for Younger Oklahoma, Adam Rock, Mayor 54.
All right, thank you so much. Nice, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you,
Okay.
Charles.
He should come every meeting. Item number 3 is the consent agenda, items A through N. I think we had a question, Eddie, on items H through K.
Yes, Mayor and Council, I would recommend for the purpose of this meeting that you table those items, remove them from the consent agenda and table them for now.
Okay, we'll remove items H through K from the consent agenda. Anybody else have any questions, concerns, comments about item number 3?
Move approval of the consent agenda items A, B, C, D, E, F, G, L, M, and N.
Okay.
Second.
In a second. All right. Cast your votes if there's no more comments.
All votes are in.
Unanimous approval from all those present. Items number 4, items removed from consent agenda. We did.
Your Honor, I would move that we table items H, I, J, and K from the consent agenda.
Okay. We have a
Second that.
motion second. All right. There's no further discussion. Please cast your votes.
All votes are in.
Okay, unanimous approval from all those present on the removing H through K from the consent agenda. Item number 5, the election of vice mayor, discussion, consideration, and possible action by city council to elect a vice mayor for a term of 2 years, expiring the first city council meeting in May 2027.
I'd like to move that to after the next item if we could.
Do we need to vote on that?
You need a
Okay.
motion and
We
a
need a-
second.
okay.
I motion to move it to after the next item.
I'll second that then.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Anybody have any questions, comments on that? All right, let's vote on it.
All votes are in.
Okay, unanimous approval to move item number 5 to after item number 6. Item number 6, appointment to vacant Ward 1 Council and GPWA trustee seat. Discuss consideration possible action to appoint an individual to fill the vacant Ward 1 City Council seat.
Your Honor, I move to nominate Franklin Danley to fill the Ward 1 vacant council seat.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussions or comments? Okay, let's see our votes.
All votes are in.
Okay. All right, we have a 3-3, so the motion fails to appoint Franklin Danley as the Ward 1 Council trustee seat.
So, now, is that the only motion we can make on that?
No, you can move another.
Because I'm going to make a motion based on conversations that were had yesterday that I was given last evening, and motion Ed Wood, who was informed he was going to take the seat. So that's my motion.
Okay, so we have a motion for Ed Wood. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this?
Well, the discussion is that's what was determined last night and brought to me by, apparently, through the consensus of this council. And similar to exactly how it's been done in the past, where the seating party would be notified the evening before, like Grant was, so that they would know to come in and take their seat, bring their family or whatever they're going to do, and be sworn in.
And I would add for clarification that no vote has been
No
taken
vote
by
has
this
been
body.
taken.
That's right.
For sure, no vote has been taken. So, but through the process, 4 councilmen or women appoint that seat. So that's the motion.
Okay. Anybody else like to have any comments to that? Okay, let's vote on for Ed Wood. We have a second, correct?
Yeah, we have a second.
Okay. Let's see our votes.
All votes are in.
Okay, and we have a 3-3, so that one also does not pass. Well, would anybody like to make another motion?
I would move that we table this item until,
Well, the item's already tabled through a non-vote. So I don't know that it
Is
even
that the
needs to be
problem?
tabled.
Yeah, I mean, it's failed.
It's failed.
We've had
The item's
option to
failed.
fail.
Seat's not filled.
Okay. Then we move on to the next item.
I think you have to go back to item 5.
Oh, that's right, okay. So item number 5, election of vice mayor, discussion, consideration, and possible action by the city council to elect a vice mayor for a term of 2 years expiring the first city council meeting in May of 2027. Well, considering myself the mayor, I will make a motion that Vice Mayor Grant Aguirre stay as the vice mayor.
I
Thought he's done a
second.
great job. Motion myself and a second. Any discussions on this? Okay, see the votes.
All votes are in.
Okay, we have a 3-3, 3-3 tie, so it does not pass. Anybody else would like to make a motion on this?
Nope, think it dies.
Okay.
I mean, I would like to know how the current vice mayor has not done an adequate job.
Well, as Councilman Bothroyd had said in regards to the appointment of the vacant Ward 1, I had also talked to people that were perfectly willingly fine to accept vice mayor and then went back on that. No poll was given, but that also happened. To answer Councilman Bothroyd's comment in regards to the vacant Ward 1 council seat, well, the stipulations under that changed.
I never said stipulations changed.
I'm saying the stipulations.
Oh, well, my position on it is, since I've been on here, every 2 years, we've pretty much appointed a new vice mayor.
And if I could interrupt this conversation, so at this point, I think that motion has died.
It's died,
So I think
it's
that
done.
that we have to
We'll wait
move
till
on.
comments. All right, we're going to skip item number 7, so we have no oath of office. Item number 8, I mean, do we do item number 8? We still do item number 8, do we not?
Mayor, council, you're welcome to approve it for the council members who are seated currently, or you could wait until the next.
I think we should wait.
Yep, staff would recommend
Yeah.
this item be
I'm gonna-
tabled to the next.
Want to make a motion to table this, someone?
Motion to table?
Okay, we have a motion, do we have a second?
second.
Motion and a second. Table item number 8.
All votes are in.
Unanimous approval to table the acknowledgement and the signing of the Code of Ethics for elected and appointed officials. Item number 9, confirmation of Association of Central Oklahoma Governments, ACOG, Board and Committee Delegates. Discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding the appointment of Vice Mayor Grant Aguirre as the city's designated voting delegate, and confirmation of Councilmember Taylor as the alternative delegate to the ACOG Board of Directors.
Do we need to table that since it's not a vice mayor any longer, or is that not a
No, you
vice
can
mayor
be,
position?
you can be on council and do it.
So move.
Okay, second. Motion and a second. Further discussion? Let's see our votes.
All votes are in.
Hey, we got one. All right, unanimous approval for all those present on the confirmation of the Association and Central Oklahoma Government's ACOG Board and Committee Delegates. Item number 10, confirmation of mayor's nomination to the Guthrie Library Board. Discussion, consideration, and possible action to take individual action to confirm the mayor's nomination to the Guthrie Public Library as follows. Cameron Smith, Library Director.
Evening, everyone. I'm really glad we had a unanimous vote on that last one. So we have 2 terms that are expiring at the end of the month, May 31st. Those terms belong to Gracelyn Lorenz, who is currently the Library Board President, and Samantha Stewart, who is currently the Library Board Secretary. Both of these members have done a fantastic job, and they're eligible to be renominated, reappointed to this position, and I full-heartedly recommend that we do so. Thank you.
Okay.
So moved.
So we have a motion and a second. Okay, let's see the votes.
Thank you, Cameron.
All votes are in.
Okay, unanimous approval for the confirmation of the mayor's nomination to the Guthrie Library Board. Item number 11, change order number 8 with GNL Tank Sandblasting and Coating. Cheney Maker.
Yes, Mayor, Council, change order 8 will increase our original contract amount by $11,800. This increase is due to unforeseen repairs to the west side storage tank. The repairs needed were based from the steel inspectors of Texas report number 1. It's included welding the roof hatch frame, plate welds of the holes, replacement of bolts and nuts. Also included with this change order is 14 additional days to contract completion. This change order addresses all of these required but yet unforeseen repairs.
How's the project coming?
So our east side, in total project, the east side tower has been online for now approximately 4 weeks, I believe, completed. The west side tower is, I would say, at about a 95% completion. We had an inspection this morning on the tower from Cindy, again with the same steel inspectors out of Texas. They had a few areas that the coating thickness did not pass, so they'll come back and put some additional coating on. Maybe you've noticed they've removed the canopy over it. They'll have some touch-up spots where the steel attaches that held the canopy, and then the stenciling location for the tower has been selected, and then they'll stencil it. From that point, we'll have to pass 2 consecutive back T tests. They'll spray the interior of the tower with chlorine. It'll pass, we'll fill it. It'll have to pass both tests, and then from that point, we will be online.
Well, I've noticed there's no more leaks on the tower on the east. So you can take a shower out there, so thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Maker?
Nope.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
So moved. Got a motion and a second? I think we have a second. Who did? Grant did. Okay, we have a second. All right, if there's not further comments or questions, let's see our votes.
All votes are in.
Okay, unanimous approval from all those present on change order number 8 with GNL tank sandblasting and coating. Item number 12, Logan County bid number 2025-21 to build rescue 2 unit with Banner Fire Equipment. Dane Lawson, Fire Chief.
Yes, Mayor and Council. If you recall, back in November of '23, I brought forth a purchase of a cabin chassis with Logan County funds. That cabin chassis took roughly about a year to get in, so we started speccing that bid process out to build out this rescue. Our previous rescue had been involved in an accident. Insurance totaled it out, so this is kind of why we're starting that build process. We finally got the bid back. There was only one bid that came in through county. It was with Banner. So we're looking forward to working with them and start this build process. Staff is recommending approval at this time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for the Fire Chief?
So moved.
We have a motion?
Second.
A motion and a second. Further comments or questions? Let's cast our votes.
All votes are in.
Okay. All right, unanimous approval from all those present on Logan County bid number 2025-21 to build rescue 2 unit with Banner Fire Equipment. Item number 13. Oh, I thought that was you banging on it. Like,
He took your gavel.
Like, you know, I was like, what item number 13, authorization to accept cab and chassis donation from, is it Delisi? How do you pronounce it?
Delisi.
Delisi. That's what I thought.
Yes,
Dane Lawson, Fire Chief.
Yeah, so Mayor and Council, the Vice President of Community Relations with Delisi contacted us last week and advised that they had a cab and chassis come available from their fleet. They said that they would like to donate it to our department. This could be a crucial asset to our department. Once funds become available, the plan would be to build a second water tanker. We would send that down to our second station whenever that's completed and funds were made available to complete this tanker. But this would be a significant step forward to completing that process. I think Public Works Director Maker could probably attest to we have hydrants south, but anything past the airport we're not able to hook up to with our tankers or engines because we'll simply collapse the line. But yeah, this could be a crucial addition to our fleet. So staff is recommending approval at this time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
How many miles are they long?
It's got 135,000. It's a 2017 Peterbilt, and they're estimating the value around $70K.
Twin screw or single?
I'm sorry,
Twin screw or single?
single.
Okay. I'll make a motion to accept that and let's get that going. That's a great idea.
Second.
Go ahead.
We have a motion in multiple seconds. Can we just pick one? And if there's not any further comments or questions, let's cast our votes.
All votes are in.
Okay, unanimous approval from all
Thank
those
you.
present on the authorization to accept cab and chassis donation from Delisi. Item number 14, revocable encroachment permit agreement for property located at 200 Larry Lane. Dan Kasich, Planning Director.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor, City Council. Yeah, this is a revocable encroachment permit agreement. There's a property that is at 200 Laurie Lane. It's in the county, but it is in the Lake Terrace Estates, which is north of the Guthrie, or not the Guthrie Lake, the Santa Fe Lake, yeah, and city property. When they built the pool, it encroached into our property. Being outside the city, there were no permits required in that, so it was probably just a simple oversight of not understanding where the property lines are. So instead of forcing them to completely remove a pool and that's been built, we're looking at an encroachment agreement that would allow it to stay where it is as long as the pool's there. If and when the pool were to be removed, then nothing could be rebuilt in that particular area. It's a 6-foot by 43.43 foot, 261 square feet. And again, it's a property that's off a cul-de-sac in the northeast part there by the Santa Fe Lake. City attorney as well as city manager have looked over this agreement and have no concerns with it. And this is similar to some that we've done in the past, most recently with the Guthrie Brewing Company when they encroached into the alleyway with some equipment.
So what do? You do a revocable encroachment until the lifespan of the pool?
Yeah.
And then so that they can't redo the pool after that, or they would have to file for another encroachment if they were going to redo it?
I mean, they can obviously maintain the pool, and that if it were to be physically removed from that area, then it could not be rebuilt in the same location. They would have to make sure it was entirely on their property. But this gives them the ability to legally keep their pool without any title issues and that down the road, because it was discovered when they recently bought the property and had a survey done.
Do you recall when that pool was installed? I know this is not a new issue.
Oh, geez, I do not. Yeah, I do.
So if the property's sold, then the new owner?
Yeah, it goes with the property. That is correct. Yep.
Dan, this is I'm sorry, this is an in-ground pool? Yes?
Yes, yes,
Good.
yeah,
Just making
yeah.
How far is it encroaching onto the city property?
6 foot by 43 points, so
okay.
6 foot
That's what
deep
that
by,
is.
yeah,
Okay.
43 feet across.
Across,
Yeah, so it's around 61 square feet.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's on that very southern portion of their property. Yeah, and it isn't impacting any type of, utilities, water, or anything at this point.
If you all don't have a problem, I don't.
What's your recommendation?
To approve it, because, again, we've approved similar type things, and again, it gives the property an ability to maintain that and keep that pool without any issues, especially if they were to sell it down the road. There wouldn't be any title issues.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. If there's no further comments or questions, we'll go to a vote.
All votes are in.
Thank you.
Unanimous approval from all those present. The encroachment permit agreement for property located at 200 Larry Lane. Item number 15, Historic Preservation Commission ex officio appointment. Discussion and possible action by the City Council to confirm the appointment of Council Member Menaka Gibbs to serve as the ex officio member of the Historical Preservation Commission for a 2-year term expiring May 4th, 2027. This is me. Yeah, it's very simple. Menaka's, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, if she's the only one that's actually served on that commission that's on this council.
So moved.
And,
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Second. If there's no further comments or questions, we'll cast our votes.
All votes are in.
Unanimous approval to appoint Councilwoman Menaka Gibbs to serve as the ex officio to the Historic Preservation Commission. Item number 16, City Manager's Report.
Yes, Mayor and Council, I'll be brief for you this evening. Just a couple quick things, an update on the water line issue. We are still working through the permitting process with the railroad. I want to give a shout out to the Public Works crews. They were able to finally isolate the water line, and so we're no longer have any water loss. That's a huge win for us, and we've seen that reflected in what's going on at the water plant. So the pumps and the filters, et cetera, that's a win. It's a step in the right direction. So we are waiting for that permit. We have secured one right-of-way easement. We still have a second right-of-way easement that has to be, right-of-way, utility easement that has to be secured. I am in contact with that individual, hope to have that done relatively quickly, and we can get that repair completed. At this time, that's all I have for you. It's been a very busy last couple of weeks, and so that's it for now.
Did you have any trouble with Santa Fe being SA?
We're still waiting.
I believe that's who they're waiting on the permit for.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Eddie. Item number 17, request comments from members of City Council. I will start down here on the right and work our way over. Councilman Williams?
No comments, thank you.
No comments? Okay. Councilman Taylor?
Staff, great job. I appreciate each and every one of you. I like your deputy chief's fire truck too. That's kind of our pickup truck carry out there. So. Otherwise, that's it.
Okay, thank you, sir. Vice Mayor Geary?
I have nothing this evening, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Guthrie?
It's been a day, let's put it that way. Kind of saddened a little bit, not a little bit, a very lot about the process that went on here. And it's just not right, and that's all I've got to say.
Councilwoman Gibbs?
It has been a very exhausting last few days, given the process of looking forward to fill the Ward 1 position on the council that is a 2-year term existing. And I was hoping that we could come to a consensus together, and we failed. Simple enough, we failed. So now it's our job to go back and look at that again and work together and see how it failed and what we can do to get that position filled. I'm looking forward to crunching numbers and looking to see what we can do about city pool. That is a negotiated front for what we can do, and with potential maybe to add on at a later date. So I'm looking forward to it, and still a lot of work to do. Also, thank you, Tenny, very much for you guys, your water efforts. And Dan, I get to see you on Mondays again.
Uh-oh, look at it.
I appreciate it, Eddie. Appreciate all your advice this week as well. And it's going to be, I think we all can come together and get some things accomplished. I have no doubt.
Thank you. I agree. Yeah, Dan, we did that just so Mineka could see you more. That's not a bad thing, all right. Tenny, again, thank you for Public Works. That's great news, Eddie. It is. It's a good, positive thing that we need right now. That was a good, something that was great to hear. Just to let everybody know about the Ward 1 seat appointment, it is, try not to take anything personal from everyone that I spoke with. Nobody had any personal animosity or reason of why they voted the way that they did. Just to let you know my perspective, I'll only speak for myself. We were going through kind of swimmingly in a nice process. Certain parts of that stipulations changed unexpectedly, and that is why I believe you have a split vote the way that you see it. It was not, I'm not voting for this person or I'm not voting for that person. I believe there was a technicality in the agreement that had changed, and just let you know my perspective. That's why I voted the way that I did. With that being said, I believe, Mr. Faulkner, like we won't discuss it now, but we will at a later date appoint, go back to, I don't know if we open up the application process again or what the process will be, but.
Yeah, I would welcome direction from the city council as to that item. I don't know, City Attorney Wheeler, you can jump in. I don't know that this is the appropriate place.
No, it's not the time.
Okay. However, we could certainly, if we need to reevaluate the process or reopen that application, that's something we could do at the next regular meeting or set a special meeting. I do think that the pool is something we're going to have to address sooner rather than later. And that needs to be a workshop until we can come to a consensus on how we're going to proceed with that project. So this is something that could potentially be added, a couple of items for a special workshop agenda.
For all of those that weren't in attendance for that, I think everybody was. We had a municipal pool workshop prior to the city council meeting, and we heard a lot of great points from a lot of people. In fact, I think every single person that spoke made a good point. So, but just rest assured, just know that we will find an appointment for the Ward 1 seat. With that, I will call this meeting adjourned, and we will open up our Public Works Authority meeting, again, May 20th, 2025. Item number 2, consent agenda. Any questions, concerns about the items on the consent agenda?
I'd move approval of the consent agenda, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion to a second.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. If there's any further comments or questions, we will cast our votes, please.
All votes are in.
Unanimous approval from those present for the items A through F on consent agenda. Item number 3, items from consent agenda. There were none. And with that, item number 4, we are adjourned.
What about our third meeting?